ever feel like you're stuck on repeat, falling for people who just don't feel the same? Yeah? Well, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving deep into why this happens.
Okay.
And more importantly, what you can do to break free.
Right.
We're really going to get into, like, the psychology of unrequited love.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is something I think that trips a lot of people up.
Yeah.
So let's unravel those patterns.
Okay, so this article we're looking at today,
Yeah.
it starts with something I think a lot of us can relate to. That feeling of hoping this time will be different, right?
Yeah.
We meet someone new,
Yeah.
we feel the sparks, and we think, this is it.
Yep.
But then crickets.
Yeah.
Or worse,
Yeah.
our feelings aren't returned. So why do we keep falling for people who are unavailable?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think one thing that this article dives right into is that we mistake infatuation for genuine love.
Oh, okay, interesting.
We get caught up in the excitement, the mystery, even just the idea of someone.
Right.
But that initial rush of emotion,
Yeah.
not always a sign of lasting love.
Yeah.
It's more like a,
Like a flash in the pan kind of thing?
or like a chemical cocktail that our brain is serving up.
So how do we differentiate between a fleeting crush and actual love?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
This article makes a distinction between liking the idea of someone and genuinely loving them for who they are.
Oh, wow.
Flaws and all.
That's a big difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
And it points out the difference between the intoxicating rush of lust, which we all know,
Yeah.
that often fades,
It does, yeah.
and then the calmer, steadier feeling of real love.
Okay, so it's more enduring this true love.
Much more enduring, this article argues that real love isn't just a feeling.
Okay.
It's an active choice we make.
Interesting.
It's about showing up for someone, supporting them and accepting them fully.
So, like, really being there for them through thick and thin.
Exactly.
It kind of reminds me of, you see those couples that are celebrating their 50th anniversary.
Right.
Still holding hands.
Uh-huh.
It's more than butterflies.
Exactly. It's about the commitment that you make to choose each other,
Right.
even when things get tough.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of bond often stems from, a foundation of shared values, respect, a willingness to grow together.
So it's deeper than just fleeting feeling.
Much deeper.
But this article takes it a step further, right? It talks about how our past experiences, especially with our parents, can shape our understanding of love without us even realizing it.
Exactly. Even without realizing it.
Wow.
We can be drawn to relationships that mirror the dynamics we experienced growing up.
Really?
Even if those dynamics weren't the healthiest.
Oh, wow.
It's like we find a strange sense of comfort in recreating familiar patterns.
So even if those patterns lead to heartache, we're drawn to what's familiar.
It's true.
It's like ordering the same dish at a restaurant, even though you remember not really liking it last time. Why do we do that?
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And it illustrates the power of subconscious patterns.
Oh, interesting.
This is where attachment theory comes in.
Okay.
And it explores how our early relationships, particularly with our primary caregivers, can shape our approach to love and connection later in life.
Okay, so it's like it's almost like we develop a template early on of what to expect and what we think love is.
Exactly. These early experiences create a sort of internal blueprint for how we understand and navigate relationships.
So we carry these blueprints often unknowingly into our adult lives.
We do.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So these blueprints can really affect who we end up with.
Absolutely.
But this article doesn't just focus on the past, right?
Right.
It also goes into this idea of self-love.
Or actually more like a lack of it.
Yeah, the article highlights a powerful connection between self-love and that tendency to seek validation from others, especially in romantic relationships.
Yeah.
And that's when we don't feel worthy of love and acceptance for who we are, we're more likely to chase after it from people who just can't or won't give it to us.
It's like trying to fill a void within ourselves.
Yeah.
With someone else's affection.
Exactly.
And then when that doesn't work,
right,
because it can't,
yeah,
it's just going to make those negative beliefs about ourselves even stronger.
Right. And this article even suggests we might sabotage relationships because deep down, we don't believe we deserve that happiness.
That is a tough one to admit.
It is.
But I think we've all experienced that self-sabotage.
Oh, for sure.
Some point.
Absolutely. Like pushing away someone who genuinely cares.
Yeah.
Because it feels almost too good to be true.
Right. Or maybe there's a part of us that just doesn't believe that we're worthy of that.
Yeah.
That's a great example. It's like We're subconsciously trying to protect ourselves from potential heartbreak.
Right.
By keeping those who truly care at a distance.
Yeah, it's scary.
It is.
To open yourself up.
Yeah, and this ties directly into the article's next point about the fear of vulnerability.
Okay.
Opening ourselves up to someone means risking getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Facing rejection.
Yeah.
Heartbreak.
It's hard.
Loss of control.
Yeah.
And for some people, that vulnerability can be terrifying.
So instead of facing those fears, we go for the excitement of unrequited love.
Right.
The thrill of the chase.
Yeah, it's safer. Even if it ultimately leaves us feeling empty.
Yeah, because it's like
choosing a roller coaster ride.
Okay.
That gives you a quick adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
But ultimately leads you back to the same spot.
Yeah, you haven't really gone anywhere.
You haven't made any progress. And I think this article really suggests that falling for people who don't love us back allows us to kind of avoid those challenges of a real relationship.
Yeah, it's easier in a way.
It's easier.
To just be like, oh, well, they don't like me back, so I don't have to put in the work.
Exactly. It's the difference between the initial fireworks of new love.
Right.
And the consistent effort that it takes to nurture that connection over time.
So it's the difference between a quick burst of flame and a steady, enduring fire.
Yes.
That can provide warmth, over the long haul.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it seems like acknowledging those patterns, those blueprints that we talked about earlier, huge step in breaking free from them.
Huge.
But what comes next?
Yeah.
I mean, where do we go from here?
Right.
So we've identified the problem, but how do we actually fix it?
Yeah.
How do we break free from this cycle of unrequited love and actually build relationships that are healthy and fulfilling?
Right. Well, the good news is this article doesn't just analyze the problem.
Okay, good.
It actually offers some practical solutions.
I like that.
It gives us a list of steps we can take to cultivate more secure attachments.
So let's talk solutions.
Okay.
What are some of those steps?
Well, instead of going through the entire list, which I definitely encourage you to check out in the article, I want to highlight a couple. That
I think are super important.
Okay.
The first is learning to self-soothe.
Okay, so that sounds kind of new agey.
It does, but it's really important.
Yep.
When we can meet our own emotional needs, we're less likely to seek validation from other people.
Okay, so instead of constantly checking our phones, hoping for that text back from someone who we know is not going to text us back, we find healthier ways to cope with those feelings of loneliness or insecurity.
Exactly.
So what does that even look like?
Well, there are lots of ways to self-soothe.
Oh.
Meditation.
Okay.
Journaling. Getting out in nature.
I like that.
Listening to music. Taking a bath.
Okay.
Spending time on a hobby you love.
So finding things that bring you joy.
Yeah, exactly. The key is to discover what works for you.
Right.
And then do it regularly.
Make it a habit.
Yes, it's about creating that inner peace and stability.
That comes from within.
Exactly.
Not from someone else.
Yes.
I like that a lot.
It's powerful stuff.
What else from the article really resonated with you?
Well, this idea of genuine giving was really interesting.
Okay. What's that all about?
It's not about, big gestures or trying to buy someone's love.
Okay.
It's about those small, everyday acts of kindness that you do without expecting anything in return.
Oh, I like that.
Like what?
Like surprising a friend with their favorite coffee.
Yes.
Or offering to help a colleague with a project.
Exactly.
Or just being present.
Yeah, just listening without judgment.
Yeah.
Being there for someone.
Just showing up for people.
Exactly. And when we shift our focus from what we can get to what we can give, it's empowering.
It feels good to give.
It does. And it allows us to connect with people in a more genuine way.
So it changes the energy of the relationship.
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what's the final action step that really stood out to you?
This one's simple, but it's huge.
Okay.
Love the people who love you.
Wow.
I know it seems obvious, right?
It does.
But we get so caught up in the chase.
Yeah.
Seeking validation from those who are unavailable.
Right. Chasing after those who don't want us.
Exactly. Yeah. And we overlook the people right in front of us.
The people who are already there.
Yes, the people who appreciate us.
Right, who already love us.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, we're so busy looking for the right person that we don't notice the right people are beside us all along.
Yes.
So true.
It's like we get so fixated on finding love in the wrong places that we totally miss the love that's right in front of us.
And that brings us right back to secure attachment, doesn't it?
It does.
Which is what this article is all about. That feeling of being safe, seen and supported.
Yes, being able to truly be yourself without fear of judgment.
And that's what we all want, right?
I think so.
That's the dream.
It is.
To feel loved and accepted for who we truly are.
Absolutely.
So, to wrap things up,
yeah,
we've spent this deep dive exploring why we might be drawn to people who don't feel the same way about us.
Right.
And often that comes from past experiences, our own insecurities, and a fear of being vulnerable.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is. But the good news is we have the power to break free from these patterns.
We absolutely do.
It all starts with self-love.
Right.
Challenging those negative beliefs.
Yes.
And learning to embrace vulnerability.
That's the key.
It's a journey.
It is.
But as we've learned today, it's a journey worth taking.
Absolutely.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive for today. But just remember, you are worthy of love.
Yes, you are.
And when you take those steps towards self-acceptance and you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you open yourself up to incredible relationships.
You do.
The kind of relationships that you deserve.
Absolutely.
So until next time, keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep learning.
Keep growing.
And keep those hearts open.